Oof, when did it start? I think it goes back to when I was growing up. Like both my grandparents built successful businesses when I was back home in Peru. Totally different businesses, but growing up, I was during lunchtime, even dinner, conversations were around the businesses because both my mom, she worked for my granddad, and my dad with his dad as well. And then just growing up, after finishing high school or finishing college, I went into enterprise sales. So while I was building my portfolio, was working with decision makers and business owners and just hearing about their journey, how they started their companies. That really motivated me, and I always had that scratch in the back of my head, like to pursue entrepreneurship. But I never had that idea. Like I always thought that in order for me to start something or be an entrepreneur, I needed to start something from scratch, and that started with an idea, and I didn't have one. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where my journey began.
Yeah, super cool. I think a lot of that resonates with me too, and my family's background too. Mom was an entrepreneur, small business, so we're a bunch of her siblings. So just growing up in that environment was, now looking back, pretty inspirational. Maybe at the time, maybe not as inspirational. Saw a lot of the struggle that comes with working in small business and family business. But there's benefits too, I think, of working in family business. A lot of my aunts and uncles are super close because not only in addition to family being close, but also because they work together for so long and such sometimes intense or grueling environments. Small business is never stable or never easy. So I think it also strengthens the relationships, which is pretty cool. So take inspiration from that in doing this and keeping me going, at least. And then I think too, being kind of second generation of family business and being put in a position to go get like more formal education than my parents got ended up setting me down a very like stable corporate W-2 type of job or career path. And then only later in life did the seed get planted or like blossom. I guess the seed was planted a long time ago, but it took a while to blossom and then spark my own entrepreneurial journey. I think going from a more stable, I guess thinking about my career progression, more stable corporate life to then the tech startup life, which is like very much 0 to 1, start the company, build a rocket ship, grow as fast as you can, and then ultimately exit somehow, IPO. Went through a couple of those, which were exciting environments to be in, but I think took me very far away from kind of my roots of small/family business. So now to come back to it, I got inspired to come back to it, this time with a much more of an ownership mentality, and really kind of rolling the sleeves up and diving deep into the problem alongside a smaller team to really drive that impact.
Yeah, I think that kind of resonates as well. One of the things that while I was working in the corporate world, the experience I really enjoyed the most was when I was managing my own team, because I was in charge of like the culture and how like turn things around and how to motivate each single individual, how they each work differently, and but overall achieving the team goals and how to get there. And that, like, I really enjoyed that experience because motivating them, I was managing the KPIs, the goals, and the thing that really resonated was how by investing time and effort into the culture and into the people and seeing the results, that was really like eye-opener. Like I wanted to do that on a bigger scale. And then to your corporate comment was control over my own destiny in a way, and like challenge myself, like I can run a business and having that challenge, but having that impact on a bigger scale than my team within my company. And like that was another motivator. And there's a lot I'd like to unpack, and like the motivations that we have and why we want to pursue this. But to answer like where the journey began is like that's I think that's where.
Yeah.
I think one of the experiences that in my career that has shaped me today is like when I really witnessed or actually felt empowered by my manager, and like kind of the difference between, you know, a more authoritarian leader to a more servant leader, and how that impacted on my results. Because it was like, okay, this is, oh, what is this? It's a totally different, you know, experience, and how that impacted on how I did the work. And I felt like, okay, now I have more responsibility. I feel like I was more accountable, and yeah, I think that really impacted me, and that's why something that when I was managing my team, I tried to implement and like manage that. And then now, and another thing there is like lead by example. Right? Like my manager was always like an example to me, and I tried to replicate that when I was managing my team. And now I think I want to do the same. I'm trying to do the same.
Yeah, that's great. I think accountability is a big one. I think pretty early in my career also was a lot of responsibility given, and not just responsibility, but also the accountability for it, which is great, I think, to be able to give in that amount of responsibility and kind of being responsible and held accountable to the decisions that are made. I think it's a great, just to have that agency. Maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe it's for certain people that like that type of having that much control. But yeah, certainly accountability definitely wasn't always good experiences in my career. Definitely, you know, take a chance, make a calculated risk. It doesn't always work out. But then can you learn from it? And are you in an environment where you're given the leeway to then learn from that experience and then make a different decision the next time, and then see if that goes better. So a lot of like those type of examples in my career, I think, shaped how I am today, and translates into at least how I contribute to our business. Is a lot of test and iterate. Everything for us is test and iterate. Let's do something instead of nothing. Have that something ideally be an informed decision with whatever information we have. Proceed with that, and then learn from that action, and that becomes additional data to then inform the next decision.
Yeah, I think another thing to add from my experience is, especially when you're working in sales, enterprise sales, you always have to rush to things, right? So, what is the, oh man, move fast? Is that? Or urgency, like sense of urgency. That's what I'm like, the literally translation from Spanish to like sense of urgency. You always have the sense of urgency because you want to close deals fast, because you're working on a timeline. You have like certain goals you need to meet either monthly or quarterly. So yeah, that's something that has shaped me in my career. Like always running.
Yeah. I see that a lot. Actually, now that you're saying this, I noticed this. I have noticed this in working more closely with you now that we're like day to day instead of before in our student lives, where it was like maybe a few minutes a day or like a couple times a week we would connect for a few hours at a time. But now it's like 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, every day, 5-6 days a week. You certainly have a bias to action. That's the phrase I learned during my startup days was, do you have a bias to action? Or a sense of urgency where, you know, not everything is neatly given to us, especially in small business. Not everything, like we don't have all the information that we need. So then you have a choice. Do you stand still and try to figure out the information you need to make a decision? Or do you lean towards making a decision and then learning more by going through that process? And I've certainly noticed that about you, is strong bias to action, get feedback, learn from that.
Thank you.
And then continue.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.